Well, good morning, everybody. Oh, coffee got a little warm. I think I spent too much time going back and forth to the house and bringing some of my stuff out here. Thank you for clicking on this video and joining in on what I'm about to do here. But before I get into that, kind of want to show you about a 3 or 4 day project that I've been working on. So from previous videos, some of you may have recognized that my shade screen was getting a little worse for wear. And I just happened to have a bunch of tin left over from when I worked on the farm, and also from when they put the tin roof on our house. And fortunately, between the two projects, the tin all matched. I'm not going to guarantee it's all the same color on top, but at least on the bottom side it's all white. So that's what I've been working on, and a project like this takes me a little bit of time because of the arthritis in my knees and feet. So I didn't get in any big hurry to get this done, but at least now it's done. And if I happen to be out here and it starts raining, I know I'm going to stay dry, and I know it's still going to provide plenty of shade. So it just happens to be that my brother drew a elk tag in Arizona, and I'm going to go on this hunt with him to kind of help him out if need be and things like that. And I'm the type of guy that when I go in the woods, I do not like going unarmed, just simply because I know that terrain very well in Arizona. There's rattlesnakes, there's coyotes, and on occasion there's bear. And what I am looking to do is decide for myself what sidearm that I'm going to carry, just in case. And I'm leaning towards taking my 58 Remington Sheriff's model, just simply because the rig that I set up, I have 2 spare cylinders. Now, some of you may recognize, yes, this is Goex. I don't care about the period correct stuff when it comes to this type of application. And I chose to use Goex because it's very moldable, and the way I made these cylinders actually click into place. So they're not going to fall out as I'm hiking around. And because I do know the terrain, I very much expect to be in some canyons and things like that. So I'm leaning towards bringing this, and I will probably do that. But the purpose of this video is this. We all know, shooting through a chronograph, the numbers are not going to be consistent. And I'm going to let Paul Harrell right here explain something.
1148. And 1102. Let's go crunch the numbers.
Well, I crunched the numbers, and it comes with the normal caveats that chronographs don't always agree with each other, and certain environmental factors like ambient temperature and elevation can affect chronograph results. And the results I got were, with the old Army, a mean velocity of 842 feet per second. With the Walker, a mean of 1,131.
So, as he says, ambient temperature and elevation affect the numbers as you're shooting through a chronograph. So for me, and as I've stated before, they really mean nothing, but it just gives you some sort of working baseline. And that's what I want to do with this particular revolver, because it's actually 2 reasons why I'm doing this. You can go back in this channel, you can see that my lovely wife purchased this revolver for me. And I've never ever put this thing on paper. All of the practicing or the shooting that I've been doing, or plinking that I've been doing with this revolver, has always been at 4-inch clay pigeons close up. And you guys can see also on this channel, I had a cylinder loaded for 3 years, I think it was, and I did up close shooting with that, and you guys can see I hit my target without any problems whatsoever. But the real purpose is not only to double check my my distance, because I'll be shooting at 16 yards. But one other issue that I do have in particular is this revolver does not have a driftable front sight. So any long distance shooting that I may have to do, I kind of want to see for myself mentally how I have to make the adjustment, if any at all. And the other thing is, it'll involve the chronograph, is I want to see through the chronograph just how much more pressure 777 builds up in a short barreled gun. And we all recognize that you're not going to get near as much feet per second out of a short barreled revolver, and particularly these, you know, black powder revolvers. So I'm going to run a test. I haven't decided yet because I'm actually recording this earlier, hoping that I can get a little bit more sun so I can get a decent shadow going through the chronograph. But I will be shooting factory Goex, comparing it against this and just seeing what these numbers actually do. Because in all reality, if I have to pull this revolver for a defensive weapon, it's going to be up close and personal. And at that point, feet per second don't mean anything, because I'm not doing any long distance shooting or self-defense type shooting. The only time feet per second should really matter in any of this, guys, is when you're shooting over a quarter mile plus, and then you have to take into account the Coriolis effect. And if you have a revolver or a rifle that's not absolutely spot on with every shot, then when you're shooting long distance, those feet per second are going to make you either miss severely or miss barely. So that's kind of my mindset on all of this. But I will tell you guys, by far and large, I quit shooting synthetic powders years ago, years and years ago, just simply because I've shot so well in competitions over the years that whenever there's a pound of powder on the prize blanket, I've always taken that first and then round ball second. Even though I cast my own, you guys see what I shoot into here, so I recover that soft lead and just recast that into, you know, the same size ball or something like that. But just kind of give you guys a little bit of a reason why I have this. One of the last few rendezvous that I went to at Cache La Plu just before the pandemic, at the end of the prize and award ceremony, the bourgeois grabbed a bunch of stuff and put it on a separate blanket. And at that point, she announced to the camp, come up and get whatever you guys want. We want to move this stuff off the blankets and, you know, put different things out for the following year. And I typically hold back on stuff like that because I've been doing this for 30 years, 30 plus years. I've got everything. So I typically only pull things that I can, you know, use in reality. So anyhow, after about 5 minutes, everybody went through and picked off what they wanted off of this blanket. And I was amazed. I really was surprised, because on that blanket was also 1 pound of Pyrodex RS powder, 2 pounds of the Pioneer, it's the American Pioneer, and that stuff was supposed to have been granulated the same as 3F, and then there was 2 pounds of 777. And nobody picked the gunpowder. So it's like, well, you know, I shoot pistols, so why not shoot this in a pistol instead of shooting real black powder? So I ended up with 5 pounds of powder for free. And this particular batch of 777, it's got a price tag of $26.89. So you figure, how much money did I pick up off the table with gunpowder? And all these other people just left the gunpowder there. So I have an ample supply of gunpowder. Now, I've since given away the Pyrodex RS because my former employer shot cap and ball, excuse me, I shouldn't say cap and ball, but a black powder rifle, CVA, and he was asking me if I had some powder to share, and it's like, yeah. And then I'll be honest with you guys, with that American Pioneer, I shot that stuff like once or twice, and I did not like that stuff whatsoever. And I do know that there's mixed reviews online regarding that particular propellant, I should say. So what I did is I took 1 pound of powder and I run a long string of powder on my driveway and I lit that stuff off. I had no use for that stuff, and I was not liking how it worked in some of my cap and ball revolvers, so I just burnt it like that. So anyhow, I still have 2 pounds of this stuff, and that's what I want to test right now, so that when I do bring my 58 Remington Sheriff's model into the woods as a backup weapon, I just kind of want to see, for my own knowledge, how many more feet per second it's actually gaining or losing over factory gunpowder. And I'm not going to test any of my homemade gunpowder because we already know, and it's been proven, that homemade gunpowder shoots several feet less per second than, say, what a factory does. So anyhow, at this point, if you're the type of person that don't like like watching people shoot paper targets, thanks for watching up to this point. And for those of you that don't mind watching people shoot at paper targets, stay tuned and welcome aboard. Alrighty, I'm loaded up. 30 grains of 3F. I'm obviously using a felt wad, number 10 percussion caps, and as you can see, my chronograph is in the direct sun. So like Paul Harrell says, ambient temperature and elevation can and will affect the numbers you get. But out of curiosity's sake, for curiosity's sake, let's see what I'm going to get. But more importantly, I'm at 16 yards, and I want to see where this gun prints on paper, because I've never printed this gun on paper. I've always shot at clay pigeons. So let's just see what we get for curiosity's sake. One hell of an echo with the tin roof now. Okay, let's get a close-up and see what we got here. Yeah, it looks like some of them went a little high. Some of them are pretty close. Let me get a close-up of this by myself, and we'll see what we got. Alrighty, 2 of those round ball went above the paper plate, but they were directly in line with the bullseye. So there again, 2 of them never hit the paper plate. You could see that 2 of them went high, and then 2 of them were right at about where the bullseye is. This next round I'm going to try to aim at the bottom of the bullseye and see where they impact. But some of you may be curious right now what I got. Shot number 1 was 731. I'm a little curious because if my memory serves me correctly, watching other fellas shoot through a chronograph with the Sheriff's model 58 Remington, I think they got lower numbers, but I don't recall right off the top of my head. The second shot recorded 595. That might be a little more in line, just trying to recall some of the other fellas shooting. Shot number 3 was debunked because that only recorded 47. So we are going to have to throw that one out. The fourth shot was 699. The fifth shot was 737. And the sixth shot was 732. So there it is, guys. Take it with a grain of salt. You know, unless I'm shooting long distance and I have to take into account the Coriolis effect, you know, at 16 yards, 730-something feet per second is good enough. Even 595 is good enough. But let's see what the 777 does. I can tell you fellas right now, it's a lot more powerful. Looking at that number right now, it's 1,000 feet per second. All right, let's take a close-up view and see where she impacted. Now that's a little more like it. So obviously, in this particular application, shooting at this target, I need to have whatever I'm aiming at just sitting at the top of the sight instead of burying the sight in the red dot. But I'm going to pull the chronograph off the tripod and see what I got for numbers. Alrighty, so let's wrap this up. Reviewing the string, first shot was 1,000 feet per second. Second shot was 961. Third shot was 866. Fourth shot was 898. Fifth shot was 917. And the last shot, which was the lowest, was 729. Which gave me an average of 895. Obviously, that's not a fair comparison since I had one junk shot with the Goex, but even running these numbers for the Goex, shot number 1, I only got 731, and I got, 260-something feet, 270 feet more per second with the 777. So obviously, and we already know this, 777 is a much more powerful propellant as opposed to real black powder. Now, I kind of want to put something into this context based on what Paul Harrell said earlier in the video about ambient temperature affects your numbers. And some of you might be saying, wow, 1,000 feet per second, that's pretty damn good out of a 5-inch barrel gun, and you would probably be correct. But what I didn't tell you, and I did this specifically so that I could see for myself and then put it in full context. After shooting the Goex, I took the chronograph off of the tripod and I set it in the shade while I did all the numbers and while I reloaded the next cylinder. So the electronics had a chance to cool down a little bit in the shade. That's why that first shot registered 1,000 feet per second. But yet through that string, shot number 6, with it having set in the sun, whatever length it was, shooting those 6 shots, I got 729. So obviously, I think we can all conclude, and I hope that you'll conclude also, that when these chronographs are sitting in the sun, your numbers are really going to be all over the place. So anyhow, guys, thanks for watching. I know my mind's made up. If I'm going to use this as a secondary arm when I'm in the woods hunting for elk or deer or anything else, I think I'm going to probably keep it right at 30 grains, maybe 25. One of these days I'll get back out here and run some more 777 through it and just see what those numbers present. But, you know, for an average of 895 out of a 5-inch gun, I think that's pretty damn good. So anyhow, thanks for watching, and everybody have a great day. Okay, I'm loaded up, ready to go. 30 grains of Goex 3F, .454 round ball. Obviously, I'm using my felt wads, and I'll get these 6 shots downrange. I want to see how they impact. I'm at about 17 yards. I normally shoot a yard closer, but because of where I got the chronograph set up, I'm just pushed back another 3 feet. And as Paul Harrell earlier mentioned, we all should recognize that ambient temperature and elevation affect these numbers. And as you can see, my chronograph is sitting in the full sun. So let's see what we get. Well, the echo certainly sounds a lot different. Let's see what we got. Didn't hit shit.